Welcome, IndyCar fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for this week's IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe. No race last week, Elijah. No race this coming weekend. So I thought we'd do things a little different. And since you are our expert, I'm just going to ask you some questions. Can you believe we are 22% of the way through the schedule?
I really can't. It's been a really fast start to this IndyCar season, and it's honestly been weird these last 2 weekends not having any races. But that being said, we've got a race here coming up next weekend, and man, it's flown by so far.
Well, last weekend you had the Final Four, and then this coming weekend you have the Masters, so probably a good 2 weeks to take off if you're going to.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. The IndyCar schedule is by far the best it's been in a long, long time. And they went up against the Masters last year, which was a huge mistake. I think it was like one of the most viewed Masters ever. So they've definitely done it right this year.
And the ratings this year have been fantastic so far.
They've been doing good so far. I know they were under the 1 million mark at Barber, but in all honesty, I think Barber's not a track that really draws in a lot of new fans, just because it's not a track NASCAR goes to. It's not a track a lot of people are really even going to know off the top of their head. But regardless, I think they still hit the around 950,000 mark, which is more well off than they were in years past.
Long way to go, and the product has earned more viewers. But if they continue to put out the product that they have, I'm sure it'll continue to grow. And the fact that all the races are on network television helps as well.
It's been big having Fox as a partner, and obviously being the TV side of IndyCar these last couple of years. We've really seen the booth grow in talent, the graphics grow. And just to be in year 2 and kind of set this firm foundation on network TV, it really brings in a lot of room for growth for IndyCar in the years to come.
Real quick, Elijah, before I get to my questions that I want to ask you, again, 4 races down, 14 to go. The top 10 in the driver standings: Kyle Kirkwood, 156, Alex Palou, 154. Then quite a gap to Christian Lundgaard with 121. David Malukas is the top Penske at 116, followed by his teammate Joseph Gordon with 113. Followed by his teammate Joseph Newgarden, 113. Then Pato O'Ward, 106. Scott McLaughlin and Marcus Ericsson with 99. Marcus Ericsson with 98. And then Scott Dixon with 85. And the first question I have for you, Elijah, is can Kyle Kirkwood stay competitive with Palou for the championship this year?
I think he can, especially where things are going. You look at next week at Long Beach, a track Kirkwood's won before and Andretti has been super, super dominant at. So I think he really needs to bank as many points now in this early season, because we know how good Palou is on some of these road courses that we're going to in the summer, like Road America, Mid-Ohio, and even on some of the shorter ovals he's been very competitive at. So Beach is a really big weekend for Kyle Kirkwood, just to hold off Palou, because we know Palou is going to win some of these races down the line.
What Kirkwood absolutely has to do is outperform Palou on the ovals. Has to.
And that's going to be hard to do, because Palou was, other than maybe, I think Palou did lead the series in points last year on ovals, which is no shocker to see just how dominant he had a year last year. But where I really think is going to be big to watch is Kirkwood has never really put together a full, strong 500, and we obviously know Palou has. And I think if Kirkwood's able to just maintain that points distance and at least put in a good points finish, maybe not have to beat Palou, but maybe just maintain, especially on those ovals, is going to be very big.
Yeah, Palou, if they're on a road course, just might as well chalk him up as the winner. It's the way it's been really the last 3 years. Just if it's a road course, just Alex Palou is going to win.
Unless something quirky happens, or maybe there's a collision. It's been the Alex Palou show. There's been no doubt about that. And it's just a testament to how good he is.
By the way, he's also the best on the ovals and the streets as well. But Wood is really good on the streets as well, and that's going to help.
And I think, especially looking forward to next week, Long Beach is what an opportunity for Andretti and Kirkwood to really put up your fist and say, we're gonna have this season fight, and you're gonna fight for the championship just as Alex Plou's fighting for the championship, which I think would be awesome.
And I really thought Pato was going to be competitive for the championship. It doesn't appear that Arrow McLaren's quite good enough yet. It's a 2-driver race, right?
Christian Lundgaard's only at 35 points behind, and Pato's 50 behind. So, when I look at that 50 mark for Pato, I think by the end of the Indianapolis 500, I think is when we can really start to say who's in it and who's not, because we still have obviously Long Beach coming up. We got the Indy GP, and then obviously the 500. I think those 3 stretches of races are going to be super important to see who's going to win this championship, because 50 points isn't a huge gap for Pato, but it's a gap where if you really want to be competitive and maybe fight for a championship, that's got to come down.
All right, Elijah. Today I was thinking of some questions I wanted to ask you about the IndyCar season, some questions that I have that I'm curious to get your answer, and they're kind of random. First, how would you rank the first 4 races as far as your enjoyment of them?
I would first go with, honestly, Phoenix. Having Phoenix back was so awesome. It was such a good race. Watching Rasmussen drive through the field was just incredible. And second, I'll have to go Arlington. Seeing a new track, even though it maybe wasn't the best race, it was still a really, really solid race with Kirkwood winning. St. Petersburg in third. It's just always a classic to see IndyCar kick off on the streets of St. Pete, and Fox, I think, really crushed it. I think that might be their best broadcast of the year with St. Pete. And then in
Yeah.
last place, I'm going to have to go Barber. It was caution free. There was some strategy at the end there with Lundgaard, but overall wasn't the most entertaining product compared to the other 3 we had.
By the way, if Lundgaard hadn't had the hiccup in the pits, that might go from number 4 to number 1, because that could have been a great finish.
Oh, if he was able to pull that off, I think that would have been awesome. But man, just unfortunate for Lundgaard and Arrow McLaren. But regardless, what a season they're having.
Yeah, and still finished second, so probably didn't cost him anything, although it definitely cost him a chance to compete for the race win.
Yeah.
All right, clearly, Elijah, the top 3 teams in the series are Ganassi, Penske, and Andretti. Arrow McLaren clearly 4th, and no question going to be competitive year after year with those 3 teams. Meyer Shank is now in 5th. Do you think they'll ever become a series power?
It's confirmed for 2028 that Honda is going to be giving another charter to Meyer Shank Racing to have a 3-car team with them. And although I don't think they're ever going to be, in the names with Andretti, Ganassi, and Penske, I think they could become kind of an Arrow McLaren, where we know they're a really solid team. Sure, they might have a few tracks where they're really not putting it all together, but at the end of the day, they maybe could string it together and really win anywhere. And I wouldn't be surprised for them to take that step, especially with their close connections to Ganassi as well. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I think they can definitely probably push the top 3, just like an Arrow McLaren. I can't really see any team in IndyCar kind of breaking that top 3.
I think McLaren probably has what it takes to get that done, but Meyer Shank's really shown that they're competent. I'll tell you that. They hire good drivers. They know what they're doing.
There's no secret about that with Marcus Armstrong and Felix Rosenqvist. They've been so strong the last couple years, and even though they maybe haven't been able to pull off that win, both these drivers are consistently in the top 12 in points and both finished within the top 8 last year.
All right, you brought up Marcus Armstrong. Next question, brighter future, Marcus Armstrong or Dennis Hauger?
Right now, just because we've only seen 4 races of Dennis Hauger, I'm gonna have to go Marcus Armstrong. I feel like he's poised to eventually go up to Ganassi whenever Scott Dixon or Kiffin Simpson moves on. I couldn't imagine him in that Ganassi car, because we've seen his pace and pure talent. He just kind of stays out of trouble and gets good results. And then again, I'd be super interested to see what Dennis Hauger can do maybe in a really competitive car. Obviously, we know Dillcoin Racing, they do as much as they can, but with money, they're never really going to reach the likes of a Ganassi or a Penske. But I'm going to have to go Marcus Armstrong just because we've seen what he can do for a couple years now, and I can see that talent rising.
I think I'm going to go with Dennis Hauger. I think he's going to be a name that we're discussing a lot in the future, Elijah. I think he's going to be a champion one day.
That's fair. I could see it.
And of course, those guys are going to be more prominent in the series as the older guys start to come to the end of their careers. And my next question, Elijah, is one I don't really want to ask. We all face it, though. Has time finally caught up with Scott Dixon and Will Power?
With Will Power, I think certainly not. He's looked pretty competitive these first four races. There's no question both drivers are kind of nearing the end of their career. Um, and I'm not really either worried about Scott Dixon as well. I think it would be worrying if Scott Dixon goes throughout the month of May through the three races we have coming up with not being able to put together like maybe even a podium because he hasn't been super relevant to start this year. But, four races isn't a huge amount of races to kind of judge a whole season on, but it's definitely getting to the point where I'm a little bit more worried for Scott Dixon than I am Will Power. Even though Scott Dixon is leading Will Power in points, I think Will Power has just looked better this year, and it's kind of been Will Power's own fault in qualifying, not really racecraft that we've seen the faults of this season.
Elijah, I've been saying for about 5 years that Will Power's lost the step. I don't think he is that interested anymore. I don't think he's nearly as competitive as he used to be. I'm talking about competitive in his bones. I got to win. He hasn't looked like the same driver since he won the 500. And he's been on two of the three best teams, and the results for 5-6 years now just haven't been there.
You're not totally wrong in that. I got another question. I guess who's got the better shot this year at the 500?
Dixon.
Think so?
I think Dixon might be my pick right now.
Wow.
I really think he's got one more in him. I just can't imagine his legend ending with one Indy 500, but it's getting close to the end, so he needs to win one now.
And it's a race where some of the best have either never won it or only won it once. And it would be no shot at Dixon if he doesn't do another because he's proven everything he needs.
And he's been competitive pretty much every May for the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Elijah, who's had the worst start to the season, Nolan Siegel or Mick Schumacher?
I got to think it's going to have to be Mick Schumacher. He's scored 31 points. It's kind of crazy with how bad Stingray Robb has looked. He's 4 points behind Stingray Robb. I get it's obviously a really different shift into IndyCar, but with how much hype he had, it's just been a string of pretty yucky races for Mick Schumacher. But that being said, it is only 4 races in, and this is a long season. And I'll be interested to see how he can compare with other drivers when we get to some of the road courses like Mid-Ohio, Road America, maybe even Portland. But it is concerning with just how bad he's been so far.
I probably agree with you, but what a waste of a seat Nolan Siegel's been. Holy crap.
Yeah. I guess the one shining slight sliver for Nolan Siegel is that he's bringing a lot of money to McLaren. But that being said, I think maybe post 500 that seat maybe gets evaluated because you have to think that McLaren team just had Teo Porcher in that car a couple years ago. There's been a lot of talent that could be in that seat, and nothing against Nolan Siegel, he just doesn't have it.
Just doesn't appear to have it. I really thought he'd be better early in the season, and he just hasn't been.
And it's tough when you're going against some of the best drivers in the world, and you're just even a little bit off. It's going to be painfully obvious, and I think that's just the case for Nolan. Maybe he can have a good 500. We know those McLarens are going to be fast at Indy. They are every year.
We've seen him in good at times.
We have. So maybe
I think we've seen him be better at times than Kiffin Simpson.
I think Kiffin Simpson has more results to show for it than Siegel does. But then again, both drivers are pretty much on that same level of you kind of need to perform.
I hate saying these things about guys who are really good guys who work hard at what they do, but Results are results.
And it's a results-based job. It just is. It's how it's always been. It's how it's always going to be. So there's always somebody next up that wants to take that seat. That's for sure.
We know that Connor Daly is going to be driving for Dreyer and Reinbold in the Indy 500. We were hoping he'd be in the fourth Andretti seat, but that leaves that seat open. And I believe rumors are that it's going to be Colton Herta, but is it?
If there's a good shot, it's not Colton Herta. With how things are going in Formula One, with the cancellations of the races due to the war going on right now, it looks like Canada might be a race option for Formula One. Would all but disqualify Colton Herta from being able to run. But that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Andretti just not run a fourth car, or maybe bring Marco back. They've got a lot of options. It's just I'll be interested to see how they swing it, but I don't really know what names they could even bring in uh, at this time. It's getting pretty late, quick.
I just think at this point, you're hoping for a retired driver, a really good driver who's been good at Indy, but there just aren't a lot of options, are there?
No, and we're getting to a point where these teams are. Open testing is the 28th and 29th of this month. And if you miss that open test, you're already starting on the back foot for a very long month. And you do not want to be starting with the leg down from the competition. So I expect something to happen here within the next couple weeks before the open test, I would assume, because I just couldn't imagine some team missing that. It would be pretty detrimental to their program.
I would just think if you're a team like Andretti, you would want as many chances as you could to win the 500 when you're one of the best three teams. But at this point, we'd kind of get it if they just said, eh.
And it would be a shame if they said because I just love getting as many cars in this race as possible. But, some years that's not doable.
How about a Weldon kid? Are they ready?
I don't think they're even close to being old enough. But
I'm just trying to think of great Andretti drivers of the past. Danica Patrick?
I doubt it. Heavily doubt it.
That's kind of the options it looks like. But you never know with Andretti. He's always been willing to go outside the box.
And I think that's the one thing that's positive. I think something's going to happen. I don't think anybody really knows what at this point.
All right, Elijah, outside of Indy, which race are you looking most forward to?
I really, really love Milwaukee. Every year, I just love the short oval, just the unique cornering that Milwaukee brings to the schedule. I think it's just such a unique oval that not a lot of NASCAR's obviously got tons of unique ovals, but there's not a lot of ovals that kind of look like Nashville, Milwaukee. So I'm really looking forward to that. And who doesn't love a short oval race? And I guess I could even say St. Louis, which has been such a good race these past years, which I'm always excited for.
I was an oval guy my whole life. I've really fallen in love with Road America and Mid-Ohio the last few years and how good those races are. And by the way, Long Beach has turned into a pretty competitive race the last few years too.
Yes, it has. Long Beach has always been a good one these last couple of years. And I'm also super pumped for Road America. I think there's not really a track that gives you a better view of any race on the schedule than Road America does. So can't wait for that as well.
Thanks so much to Elijah. He and I will be back next week with another IndyCar report previewing the race at Long Beach, and hopefully we'll have some others with us. And thank you so much for listening. Please do me a huge favor. Check out my new daily podcast, Greg and His Friends Talk Sports, where my friends and I talk about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. And it's almost May, so that's going to be IndyCar much of the time. Please go check it out every weekday. Greg and His Friends Talk Sports. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I sure do love you, Susie.